wherever you're joining us. This is Comrade Pejino Dimwengu, and we want to welcome you to our Consciousness Study class, which is a philosophical class. In fact, we are philosophical and ideological class, where our main class is a Thursday class where we study the philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah called conscientism or conscientism, which is the ideology and philosophy for decolonizing Africa with the intention of total liberation, total unification, and total development of Africa. So today we are, of course, going to discuss about the Africa unity, which is the unification of Africa. And in our text of our reference today will be a book called Africa Must Unite, but not that we are going to do like a review of that book, but rather we will be guided by a quote we'll be quoting from that book, which Nkrumah wrote, to discuss about the unity of Africa and the urgency of the unity of Africa. Above all, actually, we will be concentrating to see people share their thinking on what's the best way forward towards our Africa unification or Africa unity, with an intention for us to arrive at the best way forward. The topic today is towards African unity, and that's what we intend to discuss deeply and really today. So feel most welcome, and we want to thank you for your presence today. We've been having these sessions for Saturday classes, which are recorded on our Zoom account, which you can visit anytime. Our Zoom, our YouTube account or YouTube channel is called Conscientism Study Group. If you go to YouTube and you check Conscientism Study Group, you'll get, we have uploaded over 70, close to 80 previous classes, which started at around June last year. And you can find our topics we've been discussing various facets of African unity on Saturdays. And on actually, as it is indicated on Mondays, on Thursdays, it's a purely philosophy class. So on Thursdays, we discuss purely the philosophy by Kwame Nkrumah, which, as I've said, is called conscientism. So feel most welcome today. As usual, we'll be starting with current affairs. So we'll be going straight to current affairs, being that the book, the magazine we've been reviewing have had a break a bit. So we intend to focus on current affairs from where our comrades are. So just let us know what's going on where you are as we start up and we catch up with the context of Africa. The reason why, as we've said before, why we check on the current affairs is to know the reality on the ground, because we cannot act if we don't know the reality on the ground. So we need current affairs in order for us to understand what's going on the ground and where is the situation in terms of the unification of Africa as far as Africans are concerned, either in continent or in the diaspora. So I'll start straight by asking members who are present here, when I mention your name, kindly feel free to unmute yourself. Tell us who you are if you're a new member to our class, where you're joining us from, and probably what update would you like us to know. This one we'll be doing very briefly in the next 15 minutes. We expect to be done so that we can get to our topic for today. So let me start straight by members who have been here for some time. Let me start by Brother Joseph. Brother Joseph, from wherever you are, greetings, and let us know what's going on where you are.
Yes, thank you for coming. And as you know, I'm in the island of Grenada, or the island state of Grenada. And here, what I can say is that from a Pan-African point of view, anything to do directly with the unification of Africa, we have a situation where the news this week is that the CARICOM members are being almost coerced, you might say, to, and that's my word, to get involved in the Haitian situation. They have been asked to send, whether it's police or army, to allegedly quell the situation. So that's one of the main things that preoccupy us for the week. In addition, I think folks have heard the guy from Barbecue spoke, and I think people are more people are convinced, notwithstanding the level of violence in Haiti, that the solution to Haiti's solution is not invasion or intervention, as some people may call it, but the Haitian people being allowed with minimum, with support, practical support to resolve the situation rather than imposition of military or imperialist designs. So basically, that is it, I would say, from this end for this week. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Brother Joseph. Let's go to Brother DJ Mr. P. What's going on from wherever you are?
Good evening, brother. I'm all right, thanks. Not a great deal, to be honest. I've not been on top of the media too tough this week. Just been really, really busy. So I think I'll pass for now. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's go to Raspala. Raspala from South Africa. What's going on?
It's something. If I get something in the next while, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Raspala.
Cool.
Yeah, my brother, give thanks, man. Yes, family. Oh my Lord, there's nothing much besides the fact that we are closing in on the elections here in South Africa on the 29th of May. So the political parties are busy. Even the load shedding now has stopped for some reason. It's been 2 weeks now. You know, Papillon, yeah. So it's like that, my brother. So now the MK, Jacob Zuma, the Parliament of South Africa is saying that Jacob Zuma cannot be elected as a president of the MK, Kondo Wesizwe, because the ANC filed against him that he cannot campaign for a MK party that belongs to the ANC. So there's a lot of turmoil in the ANC. And then in terms of EFF, there's a lot of progression and other leftist forces in South Africa, including the South African Communist Party. And there's also rumors that the Mkhonto weSizwe is funded by the Russian government. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that update from South Africa. Let's go to Mwanele Manyi. Welcome, comrade. Can you introduce yourself and let us know where you're joining us from and any update from where you are? Mwanele? Ama Mzanele Manyi. I'm not sure if it's Mzalene or Manele Manyi. Do you have something to update us? If no, let's go to Mr. P. Mr. P, DJ Mr. P.
Yes, brother. I just wanted to touch on what my brother in South Africa just mentioned about Jacob Zuma. I did actually hear about that. What I heard as well was that Zuma is not allowed to contest because he had a previous conviction that exceeded, I think, more than 12 months. So because of that, he's not allowed. They've barred him from contesting. That's in South Africa, and also in West Africa. Just to update on Diame Faye of Senegal, he's actually chosen his government, which consists of 30 ministers, 5 of which are junior ministers. Yeah, so he's actually chosen his cabinet in Senegal. As you may know, 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago or less than 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, nearly. Okay. He took over. He booted out Macky Sall, and he's taken over. So, and he's a Pan-Africanist. Yeah, and he's got he's a proxy really, because Ousmane Sonko is really the guy behind the president, the new president of Senegal, and they're both Pan-Africanists. Yeah, so that's good news for Gambia and good news for Pan-Africanism.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Raspal, I'll come back to you to elaborate whatever you want to elaborate. Let me get first of all to Marsha Haynes. Marsha Haynes. Marsha Haynes. Kindly unmute yourself. Hello.
Hi, how are you? I'm all right. A little bit surprised. I guess thinking and talking about Barbados, Canada, those places that I'm situated.
Marsha, not hearing you very well.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Is Bimi
okay,
from?
So you're asking for I'm on the call, I guess, representing Barbados and Canada. Those are the 2 regions that I work and live between. In terms of I guess, a report of what is happening in Barbados. We continue to push back against neoliberal politicians that are not serving the interests of the mainly largely Black population on the ground. There's actually a march being organized tomorrow around the sale of some beachfront land and the removal of access to that land and the cultural practices and rights of that land of people. In Canada, I think the major thing continues to be our organization here around anti-Black racism as it shows up in our government. We had a senator, I'm sorry, not a senator, a councillor who used the opportunity of Black History Month to spread, her vitriol and disdain about the celebration of Black History Month in predominantly the Pickering, Ajax, Scarborough area of Canada, which is, a very long-standing Black community, and not just Black, but Black/Caribbean community in Canada. And I think we must also mention, I know that our focus is Pan-Africanism, but we have to mention that our government continues to uphold and support both financially and level of intellect the war in Israel against Palestine. And so I think we need to also, mention that and to
Your voice is fading. Yeah, not hearing you clearly.
I'm sorry, that's okay. I won't go over it. I'm here and I'm listening.
Okay, thank you. We've been struggling to hear you, but at least I think you need to ensure that your audio is loud enough. You are audible, but very low. The voice very low, but try to increase that as we move along. So thank you very much for that. Let's move very fast to, let me check. We have Sister Ida. Anything from where you are, Sister Ida? Any update?
Not really. I'm sort of in Britain. A lot of it is about what's going on in Palestine, and suddenly had people in Parliament speaking out. Others in Parliament seem to be more on doing the work of Israeli. So it's like they're almost traitors. They're not working for establishment as they're working for others. So they've been named, and I have sent it to the group. A lot happening. There will be lots of people going for marches, and there was a Windrush march this afternoon. Well, not much. A Windrush meeting at Brixton. So it's more about trying to bring attention to what's happening elsewhere in the world. There just seems to be so much happening. That's the only news that well happening elsewhere rather than in Britain as such. So that's the only news I can tell you about.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Sister Tapua.
All right, thank you. I'm in Zimbabwe. I'm trying to settle back into Zimbabwe after having lived in the UK for years. And I've been here a couple of months trying to get used to using as many currencies as there are in the region and the US dollar, trying to figure out what's what and how to pay for things because notes are hardly available. And yesterday, we just got informed that we're having a new currency, and it's sent people into a frenzy because everything has been stopped. If you had an account that had the currency was called RTGS, if you had that, you can't access it anymore because the banks and the service providers have been told to change everything, update people's accounts. People don't know how much money they have. People don't know whether this money is going to buy anything. It's just madness. And we're told everything has to be lined up by Monday. So people are moving from having $1 million plus RTGS to maybe 30, an equivalent of $30 or so. And they've also just said, amongst many other things, if you have to take all the old currency to the bank. If you had more than 100,000 RTGS, you need to explain how you had that money, because people have lost confidence in the banks. But the surprising thing is the 100,000 RTGS is only equivalent to about $4, which is not much. That's $4 according to the official rate that the government was publishing in terms of US dollar to the RTGS rate.
They're crazy. They're crazy.
They're mad. They're absolutely mad. It doesn't make sense at all. And because people have not been banking their money, whether it's US dollar or any other money, they've now said if you have a deposit of $100 in an account, it shouldn't be service charged, because all the money that was getting into the bank was service charged. So, for example, if you had 1,000, well, I had at some point some money in the bank. When I came back, maybe 6-8 months later, I was owing money because they'd been charging me for looking after the money.
What?
And you just it's wild. It's absolutely wild. You can only understand it if you live through it. If you don't, and you're reading about it in newspapers, and people are uploading the land reform, and people are saying all sorts of things about the positive things that are going on in Zimbabwe, it's only when you live through it that you get to understand what people are going through. I can't even begin to imagine. I think maybe that's why the last...
Just proceed. It's very saddening. Just proceed.
I'm saying, I think maybe one of the first meetings I attended, I kind of quipped that maybe we are able to discuss philosophical things because we're not hungry. I think that was fed by the environment that I am in. I've got a sister who's in the United States, and she says she won't come back because it's so depressing.
I don't blame
everyone
her.
looks
I wouldn't.
at you.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, everyone, you want to help everyone. You just want to help and hug everyone. But the situation is just, people are soldiering on. I think maybe it's for us who are trying to come back, who are trying to live through and support the African dream, who need to learn from just how to hold one's head high and continue doing what needs to be done. I think I shall stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. I think you have contributed something very well, and I think it's something we need to take forward, and look forward to it as a Pan-Africans, whether how do we survive with this fiat thing, or this cash, whatever, or this monetary banking systems? Is it something that is it something that brings then insufficiency in our systems, that it makes it more insufficient or not available in plenty, that then makes everything be ruined? And is it also a tool of control and controlling us moving forward? And what will be the alternative for us as a people? Because I really think that it's very sad that people cannot move from one place to other while they have the resources available, but just that they don't have that cash. And that money becomes either useless, valueless, or sometimes the way they want it. I think is one way, and in one system, that we are still enslaved, or in one way until in the that being controlled. And we must find a clear way forward as a people. Even as we are calling for the unity of continental currency, like having one money for all continents, the key issue will be also, how about if that continental money will also be held ransom? That it will also be either go through the same thing that the Zimbabwe things is going through. What will we do as a people? So I think we really need to look at both economics and in terms of money system. And is a topic I think we'll organize a session for it as a class and see it deeply, because it's one of the way we are either being controlled, in one of the way we are either being like caved or caged in somewhere that we cannot be able to do something. That will be the actual my sister for this. And we are looking forward to it. I'll note it so that we see how we can prepare for that session and see what is the best alternatives for it. I know people have been talking about blockchains and the rest, but we still need to look. I think the currency was being said to be backed by gold. Is it backed by gold?
It's said to be backed by gold, but people have lost faith. This is the 6th time currency has changed in Zimbabwe. And each time it's changed, it's just gone the same direction. Because we had $1 trillion notes at one point that wouldn't buy bread.
Yeah, I remember. I was going to say you could have $1 million in your currency and you couldn't even buy a loaf of bread with it. It's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, it was $1 trillion note that couldn't buy bread. Anyway.
Okay. I think it's in line with our topic. As we're moving towards, because what topic today is towards African unity. How do we unite in such a situation? And how do we unite using the same currency thing that is actually bringing issues? Anyway, it's a question to ponder on. But let me get the 2 reactions and then we move straight to our discussion for today. Any other further updates on current affairs? Can you put them on the chat? And please introduce yourself on our chat box if in case you're new to this class. Feel most welcome, all of you. And I'll take the 2 hands, then I'll just start officially our class today in the topic that we're supposed to start with. DJ Mr. Pin, then Joseph Anthony.
Yeah, very quickly. Again, I had a report come in on Thursday. I forgot to say this earlier. Sorry. Before I say that, Tapua, my heart goes out to you, hun. You've kind of moved back at the wrong time, man. It's like, geez.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on. It's okay. Go on.
I went to the United Kingdom in 2000, intending to be there for 2 years. I've been coming back, and it's now 23 years. And I've just told myself there won't be a right time to come back.
Yeah,
I think I just better be here.
But geez, man, to have to go back home to rest your head and relax and take it easy and have to deal with all of this crap. It's just, I feel for you. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Who's soldier on? Yeah.
Yeah, so well, no choice really. Okay, but yeah, going across the pond to St. Lucia, sunny St. Lucia, I had a report on Thursday that I think some Caucasians bought some land on Casaba Beach in St. Lucia, and they built a hotel there, and they've blocked off the beach to locals, and it's kicked off. It has kicked off in St. Lucia. They're not having it. They are not having it. You know, foreigners coming in, not only buying land, but buying beach land, setting up a hotel on the beach and barring locals from accessing the beach. So what happened was hundreds of locals descended on the beach with a huge sound system. I'm talking the sound system was about 15 foot high, massive speakers stacked up on scaffolding, and they're blaring out music on the beach, and they're speaking in Creole, and some of which I do understand. And it was quite abusive what they were saying, but they were doing it in a calypso, in a calypso style. Calypso is a form of music, very similar to West African high life, but the messages in the music is a lot of the messages are political. So it's just very funny what they're saying. And it was actually quite abusive and quite rude, but it was humorous. It was funny. So that's what's going on in St. Lucia at the moment in Casaba Beach, which is in the northern part of the island. So yeah, it's just all going mad at the moment.
Thank you for that, Joseph. Joseph.
Yeah, just to support what Mr. P said. Indeed, they were using the song by Gabby of Barbados, Jack Don't Want Me to Beat on My Beach.
Yes, yeah.
This is something I failed to mention, but I'm trying to be as precise as possible. But another thing is that yesterday there was a motorcade in Grenada for Palestine. So Palestine is very much in the air. And last week there was something in Jamaica, although it was small. In terms of the sister from Zimbabwe, about they are charging you for taking care of your money or using your money. They've been doing that in this part of the world for quite a bit of a while. I'm taking out every month if you have money under $500, they was taking out that for years, maybe almost 20 years. And in recent times, they have had additional charges for, they said, to keep in line with the administrative costs of taking care of the rules from money laundering that have been imposed.
Yeah, load of crap. It's a load of crap.
It's very, I mean, the banking system is very, it's not some place that people are attractive to go to right now. And in fact, last week in Grenada, one of the credit union was hacked. Anyway, I'll leave that for now.
Thank you, comrades. Let me go straight to our discussion. It's already 32 minutes past our starting time, and I do appreciate updates that have been coming across the continent and even out of the continent. It's very clear that the situation is not well, and we are not either in the right direction. So permit me to give a little update that from my side. First, I'll start by appreciating all comrades who have actually participated in supporting my expected journey to attend the UN summit on 9th, which should be this coming week on Tuesday. Brother Mr. P, you have actually helped me a lot running the GoFundMe that have contributed so far over £360. And also, there have been so many people who have been putting on their contributions. So far, at least, I'm a bit assured that the air ticket might be in, so I'm working on the rest of the things. I do honestly appreciate every person who has done this. For those who are still willing to come in and support, of course, DJ Mr. P will be trying to share the link on the chat box. But that's my first supposition. In less than a week, we've been able to raise close to over £500 in less than a week. So thank you very much for that support. I'm actually humbled by your solidarity support. Lastly, is that our president of Kenya, and you all aware that I did a letter to express my intention to run as the African Union chairperson, commission chairperson. The president ignored my letter, so I think it was on Wednesday. I wrote a letter to AU, an email to AU, and I did attach the president and even copied the letter that the government of Kenya ignored, and that copied some other ministries and the current AU chairperson. I'm still waiting for the response. And my president has been out in Ghana, in Guinea recently, trying to campaign for the former prime minister for the same position of AU chairperson. Basically, I believe they're all puppets trying to protect each other. But that having been said, I think there's a lot that's going on, and we need to watch on the forces, negative forces. The win for the election for a young man from Senegal is actually another dimension that we need to check. Because initially there was an attempt that maybe the so-called changes might be coming through the juntas, but there's now a new aspect that as a young man has been either voted in, and it appears to be another alternative change that we've been looking for, that the juntas have also been pursuing. So does it mean that the change is coming to Africa beyond the juntas to the permitting to these systems called democracy? Is it really a positive aspect or a positive indication for us moving forward? And if that's the way, then how do we maximize that advantage so that we can also take advantage over the so-called democratic system that can then allow us to have progressive leadership? And we are also yet to look forward how will the new team come in actually perform in their new leadership. But we believe at least there's a new change, and we expect that to be for the good direction. So today, comrades, actually, we have called this session to discuss our journey towards African unity. As you are all aware, this agenda started a long time ago. Of course, from Pan-Africanism and the great Pan-Africans, right from Mosiah Garvey, who said back to Africa, and his intention was to galvanize all diaspora Africans and make the so-called ship that will bring them back to Africa. And actually, we know this deal was, this plan was sabotaged. But were the Africans in the outside Africa were really ready to come back to Africa? And are they ready today? And even if they are outside of Africa, wherever they are we still can be able to connect and unite as a people, irrespective of the distance? And this is part of the things we'll be analyzing today. So permit me to go straight, first of all, by quoting this book that I'll keep it on the screen throughout our conversation, our discussion today. Kwame Nkrumah wrote in this book, Africa Must Unite, in chapter 15, and the topic was towards African unity. You must realize that this book was written so many years ago, particularly either in early 1960s. I'm not sure in the particular date, but I'll check that. But he says that, and this is part of what we'll be discussing today, that there are those who maintain that Africa cannot unite. Of course, you've heard of this. So many of us still say the same, that Africa cannot unite. In fact, I asked one of my friends from a certain country in Kenya, and he told me, forget about that, it cannot be possible. But Nkrumah says, there are those who maintain that Africa cannot unite because we lack the three necessary ingredients for unity. And I think this is now where we have to discuss this, and whether this is still the challenge to date. When it says we lack a common race, a common culture, and a common language. Do we comrades believe that this actually is one of the hindrances today towards our unity? And what is the alternative in order for us to achieve this? Then Nkrumah goes ahead to say, it is true that we have for centuries been divided, and up to date we are still divided. The territorial boundaries dividing us were fixed long ago, often quite arbitrarily, by the colonial powers. Some of us are either Muslims, to mean Muslims, some are Christians, many believe in traditional tribal gods, and this is the still war we have to date, the religious war, the religion war in the continent to date. Some of us speak French, even though we are Africans. Now here we are speaking English, even though we are Africans. Some speak Portuguese, not to mention the millions who speak only one of the hundreds of different African languages. We have acquired cultural differences, which affect our outlook and condition our political development. All this is inevitable due to our historical background. Yet, in spite of this, I am convinced, and Nkrumah says, I am convinced, he is convinced, and I myself also still believe the same thing. I am convinced that the forces making for unity far outweighs those which divide us. And that's where I want to stop for now. So permit me to open this conversation, comrades. And one of the important thing is, let's discuss our thinking. Let's share our own understanding in regards to this journey towards the unity of Africa. Actually, reacting to some of what Nkrumah mentioned here or highlighted here, but also with an alternative of what you feel must be done or should be done, because it has been so long. These are so many years since Nkrumah says this, so many years since Marcus Garvey started this. Are we really towards the unification of Africa? And what must be done? And how do we actually overcome the challenges outlined and the differences dividing us? So the floor is open. Always feel free to share your thinking. I'll start by those who have raised their hands. And I ask you that you please raise your hand so that I can follow the order and give you space to speak. I encourage that all of us at least have a space to speak something by the end of this session. So let me start by Sister Mary X or Mary X.
Grand Rising, or I'm in transit at the moment. But you know, I've always said, right, achievements are based on mindset. If you want it, you go after it and you get it. Okay. I'm a classical example of an African.
You're very far away, sister. Can you bring the mic closer?
Yeah, not hearing you very well, hon. Not hearing you very well. Yeah, you've gone into the matrix. We lost you, hon. We've gone. You've disappeared into the matrix.
Okay, kindly try to work on your microphone, bring it closer. Anytime you feel comfortable that you are better enough to speak, kindly just raise up your hands again. I'll come back to you, Sister Mary, please. Let me get to Brother Michael X.
Yeah, greetings, brothers and sisters. Great conversation, great topic. It will happen. See, we look at all the obstacles, and Nkrumah was looking at all the obstacles, but the young generation won't look at that. Either we do it or we perish, right? We will be still the richest continent or group of countries on the planet, but still the poorest, right? Because our corrupt leaders who are scared to death Negroes, really. And, we've got everything the rest of the world needs, right? And it will happen. The young people will not. They will find a way of unification. we will find a way of having a common language, right? All it takes is, I mean, all the things that Nkrumah illustrated or documented was, they're just the differences, but what have we got in common? And the younger people will look at what have we got in common. Do we want to stay a slave for the rest of our lives? I mean, I listen to the sister in Zimbabwe. I mean, that's horrendous what they have to go through, right? The young people, there's dissatisfaction growing, right? For that. And with that dissatisfaction comes change. And you're seeing it with Burkina Faso, with Mali, with Nigeria. Now Senegal is coming into the foe now. It's starting. And you look at those young leaders, they don't look like the leaders before. You know, and I'm not being rude, but fat, pompous, you know, European educated Negroes, you know, they look like young warriors. When you look at Abraham Tahori, handsome warrior in his military gear, right? Guarded by young, powerful, young black men and women. So the change is taking place, right? This world that we see is falling down. We've got too much faith in a world that is going down, right? Once we realize that this world is going down, the only power they've got is the power we give them, because the fear of poverty, the fear of them killing us, right? But it's just an illusion. You know, we can't see it, but we are the winners. We will win, right? It's written, it's ordained, right? Right? Even in their teachings, right? They know that they lose. It's just an illusion, right? It's just an illusion that the people buy into. So no, I do see a change. They said that China could never be united at one time with all those tribes, right? And warlords, right? They said that could never happen. But it did happen because of one I've forgotten the name of him, but there's a film based on his life called Heroes with Jet Li, right? And you know, he you know, this is medieval times, so he went around conquering the other tribes and until they submitted, right? You know, and then Mao united China, right? So it can be done, right? It's going to be done. I mean, Africa's maybe 4 or 5 times bigger than China, right? So you know, but it will happen because of social network, and you know, we will have to create our own currency, right? And that currency can be crypto, right? It can be a cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is backed by what the people say, not governments. That's why crypto is hated, because it's what the people say is the value of it, and then the markets have to submit. That is, and you know, Satoshi Nkrumah, I believe, is a woman, because only a woman could create something and step out of it with no ego, right? You know, no one knows who that person is, and that's why I believe it's a woman, because it's so unique, right? That they can't do nothing. If the internet crashed in America, it wouldn't crash necessarily in China, because they've got their own internet. So they've set up so no one knows who's got what, right? We have to do the same. We have to, and as I'm saying it, there's young people, you know, in little villages throughout Africa saying, this is rubbish. We got to do better. We've got to be better than our parents, our grandparents. All right, they've got us here, but now we're here for a purpose. And that purpose is to build our world. And it's going to start with families, with villages, right? With towns, with cities, right? You know, but what will happen is you'll have a group of people, of young people, young brothers, young sisters, you know, thinking, you know, this can't stay as it is. We cannot be the richest continent on the planet and we're raggedy, right? We can't get our act together. People can come and take our stuff, bribe our leaders, and we elect the leaders, right? Our leaders have got to be accountable as well. That's another thing. Our leaders betray us because there's no fear. There's no fear. If they know they will die, our leaders won't betray us. And it has to have that mindset. And those young people will have that, right? They're fed up with the corruptness. I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, comrade. Let me get to, I think you've raised that you put more hope on the younger people. You're more convinced with the upcoming trends of the young people trying to make space into the transformation of the discussion on African unity and towards the direction we want. And we look forward to that, but also we need to actually identify these forces that Nkrumah believes that the forces that unite us outweigh these borders, these religions, and everything else. Because until we tap to those forces, it will be very important for us to have those forces that unite us, identify them, and work on them so that we can actually combat the forces that divide us. But let me get what Brother Joseph has to say. Brother Joseph, please.
Yes, Brother but I know people on this platform may know that my preference is to have the African anthem start the proceedings in the composition to set the tone. And I would have preferred, because I think it would have sort of had to create the atmosphere. As you know, music plays a big part in our life. And so I don't know if it's too late.
I'll play it immediately after your presentation before I move forward.
Okay, all right. So to answer the question whether it's possible to unite, I would say definitely yes. There's a lot of things in our favor right now. The possibility of communicating, the opportunity and possibility of communicating, of being in touch. Look at the people that are involved here from different parts of the world. That's one. Secondly, a willingness to put artificial differences apart. As you read in the passage, we have acquired certain cultural, we acquire certain conditioning, cultural conditioning, and we could divorce ourselves from those things by becoming conscious and beginning to behave and act differently. In fact, one of the things I think we need to do more than ever is to probably speak less. When I'm saying that what should be done and what was not done, but be able to come up with concrete contribution whenever we have conversation like that, like this, and to energize each other. The other thing about it is that we need to study more, and the sessions that we have on Thursday and on this one is very helpful, because people have a lot of superficial ideas of what it would take to unite the continent. Most people, when they think about the continent, all they think is about resources. Resources, or Africa have enough, more than any other person, but that is one. We've seen it even in our region here, where small islands, with the little what they have, are allowing it to be taken away. They've been blindfolded, in a manner of speaking, by promise of economic prosperity and transformation. So we're giving away the lands, like for instance what happened in St. Lucia, okay? This week gone there. And even in Grenada, I read somewhere that some beaches being restricted from people. I have nothing investigated properly right now, so maybe I shouldn't even be talking about it. But more of that kind of situation is happening. We have situation in Guyana, for instance, where Guyana is going speedhead to support the imperialists through their supplying them with fossil fuel. I'm coming. I'm making a point. So with all of these, we need to curtail those things by holding our folks wherever we are accountable, so that it wouldn't make it much more difficult as it's being done right now. Because when our people are being sold those kinds of things, it's difficult for our people to really grasp what we're trying to say. So forced to limit it, I mean, to curtail what I'm going to say now, we need to decolonize our minds, one, because the mind is highly colonized. And also we need to divorce ourselves from capitalism. We cannot continue to have the capitalist frame of mind, especially the economic frame of mind, wanting to solve the problem of our people, whether it's continental or even just collectively continental and the diaspora. Thank you.
Brother Joseph, from the Caribbean point of view, I know we have CARICOM, but when you talk of unity, what are the ingredients of unity? Because to my side of thinking, unity can be seen, for example, unity of language. We may not either unite in culture, for example, so we have different African cultures in terms of our greetings, dress code, and manners, but unity of language, unity of leadership, political leadership, unity of economics, for example, unity of even when you talk of the transport or telephone line system, unity of currency, unity of army. Despite of us having African Union and even the CARICOM, from your point of view in Caribbean, do you see the CARICOM or the Caribbean even is moving towards uniting the islands or the Africans outside in the Caribbean in that direction?
This is the point I was trying to make. No, I don't think we are doing this. Some talk about it, and I would like to hear Dr. Marsha Hines' take on that. But I think her thing is even more radical than me. We're not really, there's a lot of talk, nice talk about connection with Africa and everything, but it's not there because we're selling out all, we are becoming less and less owners of what we have. So if you don't have, as Malcolm X said, land is the basis of independence. And more we have been being less and less land and resources. Fishing is being poached by other people. I mean, like in Senegal and in other places where the European Union rip off fisheries from this region. I'm saying it's possible, but the environment is not there at the moment. The language, yes, but we're still divided. We're still, I invite a brother from Puerto Rico to be on this session this evening. I don't know if he's here. We still can't communicate effectively with people in the Spanish speaking, in the French speaking, in the Dutch speaking. So there is, and then we have this superficial stuff of, Trinidadians and Grenadians. There's a lot of things we have to overcome, and a lot of work has to go into it, but it could be done. But what is needed is a fresh kind of leadership like the one that you are providing.
Thank you.
I would very like to hear Dr. Hines.
Okay, thank you. But I want to play again this African anthem. The only reason I want to play it is let's listen deeply to the words, not even to the tone, to the words, and let's assert, because it gives us somehow like who we are in the words, but also what we need to do. So let's also have this anthem as we listen to it in 2 minutes. Can we try to pick the words by word and understand them deeply, then connect them back to our conversation? So let me play the anthem now for 2 minutes, then I'll go straight to the hands that are up. But let's connect these words to what we want to speak.
Thank you very much for that.
I'm Solby, a senior at UC Berkeley, and I want to share with you how Empower has empowered me on my educational journey.
Celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa a tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and join together to give the best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind, the font of culture, our pride and hope and break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
Thank you very much for that. So let's proceed. Let's give our continuous input, but also let's base on this. This anthem says that we celebrate our liberation. Was the so-called independent can be perceived to be liberation? Which from my side, I believe is no. But it also reminds us of who we are. We are the sons of the sun. And let's unite together. So there has been a lot of this conversation, and that's what ties to our conversation today, where we are discussing about towards our unity as Africa. So permit me to go to the other hands that are up. Let me go to DJ Mr. P was first, and then Sister Tapua. DJ Mr. P?
My brother, thank you. I don't want to take too long on this because I could be talking all night on this particular subject, trust me. It frustrates me, it pushes up my blood pressure, but I think I'm going to say what I think needs to be said. There's no simple answer to, well, the answer to the question is, yes, we will unite. The question is how and when. They're the real questions. How and when are we going to unite? We can do it. It is possible. It's going to be bloody hard work. Things are changing. Okay. But with regards to what Kwame Nkrumah said regarding having a common race, culture, and language, I don't fully agree with what he said because I see us as one people, where our ethnicity or race is African. End of story. Simple. So we are already one race. We are made up of many different cultures and tribes with different languages and ways of doing things. Okay, but that still shouldn't stop us. The one important factor there out of the three that Kwame mentioned is language. We need to be able to communicate. Nothing happens unless you can communicate. So communication, a common method of communication, is absolutely essential. As mentioned previously, in Africa, we've probably got over 1,000 languages and dialects. In the West Indies, we've probably got about 30, 40, no, probably not as many as that. I'd probably say about 20, 15, maybe 20 different dialects and languages there. You've got the European languages, and then you've got the indigenous languages. You've got 3 or 4 indigenous languages. So say about 10 different languages. Now, my thing is this. I agree with what Brother Michael, a lot of what Brother Michael said. Yeah. And by the way, Africa is double the size. 3 times the size of China. It's actually 3 times the size of China. Yeah. Yeah.
Africa is around 31 million kilometers something square.
Square kilometers. Yeah. And China's about, I think 9 or 10.
It's 9. It's 9.
Yeah. It's 9. So it's more than 3 times the size. Yeah. Now, just a factoid for you. Now, I think Brother Joseph mentioned CARICOM and the AU. For as far as I'm concerned, the AU and CARICOM should be sunk or dumped at the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the Atlantic Ocean. because they're no use to man or beast. They're just they're a talking shop, complete frigging waste of time. They're not doing anything. They talk all of the right, they talk right, but they walk left. They talk all the lovely talk about unity, blah, 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 blah. But you ask the average West Indian if they're an African, they'll want to hit you. They're not interested. They don't want to know anything about. They'll say they are from the island that they're from, and you can't tell them anything else. Believe me, I've tried. It's not something I've tried once or twice, or on one or two occasions in one island. I've been to many islands, and I've had the same conversation on many, and I've had the same results every time with different sets of people. They don't want to know about. So if you don't want to identify as an African, yeah, that's the first problem. You not accepting your ethnicity. That is the first problem. Now, these problems, such as that, derive from mindset. The remedy for mindset is education. So until we are educated to a point where we know who we are, because we've forgotten who we are, that's why we can't unite. We were united before. What went wrong? What happened? Why are we not united now? Yeah, we know about 1884. We know about that, right? But what other factors came into play that had us disunite? Because we were united before. So these are the things we need to look at. And until we can start loving ourselves as individuals, nothing is going to change. Because if you cannot accept and embrace who you are, you can't love who you are. If you can't love who you are, you cannot love somebody else that looks like you. It's impossible. It is impossible. So our first thing for me is education. Education, education, education. Okay? So it's Pan-African education and personal development. That's the only way forward as far as I'm concerned. All right?
Okay.
And, sorry?
DJ Mr. P, I wanted to interject a bit by asking the question you say, we will unite, but you don't know when. Now the question is, what will determine that when for you? What will assure you or even make you predict? African Union is saying in 2063, which personally I ask myself is the question, because when you talk of unity in this aspect, what do you want to see to say that you're united? Actually, we will not be called all DJ Mr. P to say we are united, but how do we carry out common activities together? For example, look at maybe, I'm not giving a difference, look at maybe the United States. They were not united. They made up states that made up whatever united, the so-called US, which is made up of states. They try to use same currency. They try to have almost one leadership as the presidency and the rest of down here. They try to act everything almost in the same line as one country. Look at China. With a population equivalent to us, they were also actually subjected to these other external forces, but they managed to actually retain their religion or their spirituality. Look at India that experienced the same thing we experience almost in terms of colonization, how managed to control a one country with billions equivalent to our billion, but still manage their so-called elections successfully without the so-called issues up and down. And they've been having even less conflict internally than us out here. We have almost the same characteristics of subjections like them. But the question is, what will it take, or how long can it take African leaders just to say one thing, that from today forward, we'll not have this so-called many passports moving one, we'll not have this so-called so many currency like Zimbabwe one. Will that really have to wait until 2063?
Right. I don't think we'll have to wait as long as 2063, because I think things are moving forward in a pretty big way. I don't want to offload responsibility onto the leadership and presidents of these countries. No, that's a very easy backdoor. That's a very easy escape. Yeah, I don't want to do that, because at the end of the day, who put the presidents there? The people did. Now, if the people elected the presidents and they're electing assholes, then there's something wrong with the people.
Are you sure the people do it?
Hold on, there's two sides to that. There are two sides. I'm just going on the so-called, and I say in quotes, the so-called democracy way of doing things in terms of voting. I've seen it happen in African countries where the president will be out doing he'll come out, like perfect example, as given earlier on, South Africa. All of a sudden, the load shedding has stopped. I wonder why. Why? Because there's a flipping election around the corner. That's why. And the ANC want to keep power. But the ANC are going to do whatever they can, fight tooth and nail to hold on to that, because they're corrupt. So they're going to play all the tricks in the book. I've seen it time and time again. And are you telling me that only now they've sorted the load shedding? Watch, if they stay in power, how quickly the load shedding comes back again. They're full of crap. They need to get tossed into the bottom of the Mariana Trench. They're useless. They're no use to man, woman, or child. They're no use to anyone.
Thank you.
So, right, I can't put it on the leadership alone. I can't put it on them. If we look at a democracy for the sake of democracy, the people elect the leaders. So if a leader is going to come out 6 months before election time and bung the poor, hungry people a bag of rice, a t-shirt and a cap that says vote for me, they're not going to not take it. They're going to take it. And this is how a lot of the electioneering happens. That is how it happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
A similar thing in the West Indies. People crying, roads broken down there. They'll come, they'll patch up. They won't fix the road. They'll patch up the road. They'll patch it up just before election time. Yeah. To say, we are doing something for you. And Tutus, you don't hear from them again until election time. So, sorry. So, another point I wanted to make regarding the West Indies and Africa. I can't see West Indies freeing or liberating themselves in a hurry. It's not going to happen. And it won't happen before. I think it will happen after Africa liberates itself. When Africa liberates itself, I think the West Indies will wake up. Yeah. And bottom line is, for me, it's education. Until we know and can remember and who we are. Another perfect example. We needed £1,000 on your GoFundMe. Yeah, someone's got their microphone on. Yeah, we needed £1,000 on the GoFundMe, right? Pigman, you know I'm in over 80 groups. If one person from each group just contributed £10, your problem would be solved, right? But again, you've got people saying, 1, I don't know him. 2, oh, he's too dark. Or 3, he's a Kenyan. Or 4, he's East African. All of this crap, we need to dissolve it. At the end of the day, we are all the same people. I don't care which island you're from. I don't care if you're on the continent or you're in the diaspora, we're the same people. And until we can get that into our heads, yeah, nothing's going to change. Things are changing. We are communicating right now. We're having a Zoom. We're not talking a load of crap about where we're going to be raving next week or we're putting on a dance. We're not talking any rubbish like that. We're talking about real things that are going to move us forwards as a people. So the use of we've got the internet, which is an excellent tool. Problem is, due to a bad mindset, most of us Africans are not using the internet the right way. We're not using it to connect, to share ideas, to build, to grow, to learn, to educate ourselves. We're using it for the wrong things. Chatting rubbish on Facebook and TikTok, posting stupid videos. You got women on TikTok making money selling bleaching cream. Hello? Oh, I'm gonna just rest there for now because I don't want to eat up all the time. Yeah.
Thank you. I really want us to limit also our timing a bit, but also to allow other members to contribute. We still have the next 50 minutes for our contribution. I'll be going to Sister Tapua, but I'll remind members who are present here that today we are discussing the journey towards African unity. And the text on the screen is Kwame Nkrumah text in chapter 15 of his book, Africa Must Unite. And this text says as follows: there are those who maintain that Africa cannot unite because we lack the 3 necessary ingredients for unity: a common race, common culture, and language. That is what those people say. That is the reason why we cannot unite. It's not what Nkrumah say. It's what Nkrumah says, that those people say that we cannot unite because we lack common race, common culture, and common language. But he says it is true.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that. Sorry, that's what they said.
Okay.
That Kwame
Yes.
said that. Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, and Kwame says it is true that we have for centuries been divided. The territorial boundaries dividing us were fixed long ago, often quite arbitrary by the colonial powers. Some of us today are Muslims, some are Christians, others are traditionalists, others are tribal gods. Some of us today speak French. Here we are speaking English. Some speak Portuguese, Spanish, not to mention millions of us who speak our traditionals or hundreds of African languages. We have acquired cultural differences. We have acquired cultural differences, underline the word acquired, which affect our outlook and condition our political development. All this is inevitable. It's true, it's inevitable due to our historical background. Yet, in spite of this, Nkrumah says he's still convinced that the forces making for unity of us as a people far outweigh those which divide us. It's upon us to identify those forces that make for our unity and use it properly to overcome the forces that divide us. Sister Tapua?
Thank you very much. I really like the last statement there that you read, which reads forces, because that word there is, I think, what is going to make us unite. Because I believe, one, where there's a will, there's a way. We have examples of people that come from different cultures, speak different languages, of different races, who marry, who live in communities together. The countries that we are in are countries that have a diversity of sorts in terms of culture, language, and race. But for me, the most important thing is to remember that language is only a tool. Language is not static. Language develops. Now we surf the net. I mean, whoever thought we could surf a net? And we will develop a language to use as long as we've got a common thing that we need to, we've identified some commonality between us and identify what it is that we want as Africans. I think of the three things that Nkrumah identified: culture, language, and race. Race is permanent. Guys, if you're black, you're black. There's one thing that announces who we are to the world. It's just the mere appearance. You stand there and people read you. They know where you're from. You might not say, I'm from there. You might argue, I'm from wherever you are, but they will associate you with the beautiful continent. So for me, race is nothing. I mean, we are united, whether we like it or not. We've been forced to be united, whether we're in the Caribbean islands or in Russia or wherever we might find a Black person. They're always brought back to Africa. Culture is a way of interacting with the environment. As Africans, as Black people, we've been forced by our experiences, life's experiences, to come up with a culture that unites us. I mean, look at the propensity of students in a school where there might be a minority. It doesn't matter whether they're coming from Africa or from anywhere else in the world. They will gravitate towards one another. They might not even speak the same language, but they understand that it's the race that makes them come together because they've got common experiences. They're treated the same. So we need to identify a strong pull factor that will unite us. And I think that I agree with my brother who was saying education is key, which is why I've come back to Zimbabwe. Because what I've noticed is there's a lot of talk that we go through, but we are not coming up with concrete plans to make sure the youth, particularly the youth, do not get blown by the wind. In Africa, maybe things are changing a bit, but almost all our children want to be American, dress American, eat American, sing American. So we have some work to do. Maybe when they get slightly older, things begin to change. So it's those older people, the older youths that I call them, 35 and above, who might have waken up, who need to organize, because we really need to start working to organize and educate. Close the gap between what the colonizers have told our youths, what the education system that we continue to use tells our youth. We need to come up with an alternative. And this alternative is not going to be acceptable to mainstream in terms of maybe altering the education system. And here I'm speaking of Zimbabwe as an example, because that's the one I best know. If you tell people you're not going to write Cambridge, they will rebel. The government tried to introduce something called color, where they were trying to acculturate our population so that they get to know themselves. And the unfortunate thing is, the parents of these children, including myself, don't know that culture. So what I realized was, we've got a gap here. We've got a gap in terms of knowledge of who we are and where we need to go. I was thinking, we need to come up with some type of organization that is not government-led, because our government, I'm sorry to say, exhibit elements of being puppets and supporting the system that we've been trying to get away from. What inspires me, or what I really think would work, is looking at the South African Communist Party style of organizing. Because during the South African liberation, they organized workers into unions. They realized the workers themselves, on their own, were so involved in making a living, they had to hire people to be employed in the mines as miners and start agitating from the bottom up. That conscientize the people. So we need to make sure we've got such organizations going on that are conscientizing our youth, conscientizing the people, getting people ready for what we're preparing and what we are hoping will come. And I think to a large extent, it will also determine when we will unite. Because as long as we don't know who we are and what we want, and make sure everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet, we will not. So it needs a concerted effort, concerted direction. We need to make sure we are working, we are organizing, almost like having a political party for the whole continent, where we know what's happening in the Cameroon, where we know we've got an organization starting in the Caribbean that's teaching kids about certain things, that's raising awareness. And that, I think, for me, will work. So my take is, culture moves. We can grow the culture. Language develops. We can develop the language. The common thing that we have is race. And we know what we need. We need Africans to be treated fairly. We need Africa to be rich. We need the very least of our Africans to live a decent life. And I think that language people will understand. They will all understand that lifestyle and life and a decent life will make us be a better people. Thank you very much. Sorry for the long talk.
Thank you very much. As we still progress, I do appreciate the points that have been coming before. And the points and the direction is simple. What is our way towards African unity? I understand when you talk of course, Ankara said that there's need to be what he called political orientation. He called it mass education. And I think Nkrumah also mentioned it in his book, Neocolonialism, that until the revolution is taken to the masses, so that the masses can actually take over the revolution. And that's what Steve Biko said, that the greatest tool in the mind, on the hands of the oppressor, is the mind of the oppressed, and the masses are the oppressed, and they are oppressed through their mind. And that is the same what is being said, that emancipate your mind from mental slavery. And it's still the same what Chancellor Williams mentioned in his book, Destruction of Black Civilization, that despite of us being physically free, we voluntarily became mentally enslaved voluntarily. And this is what I'm seeing, like I was asking today in the morning. My younger kid growing up can only see those called cartoons. They call them, I don't know, Coco Melon and Baby Fane, that belongs to the white created cartoons at the younger age of 1 year or less than 1 year. And they grow up to mention and adapt to those things this early. There is a generation that they're exposed to technologies, and the technologies and the movies they watch in Netflix and everything else is Western made. Tell me, what kind of mind would they have when they reach their adulthood stage? Today, the doctors are suffering in our hospitals. People are suffering because they don't have enough medication, and simply because you're waiting for medicines manufactured in the US and the rest. Well, we have enough trees, enough plantation, enough herbs in Africa that can give us alternative, cheaper medicine that cannot be controlled by anybody. If you are sick, once you have the knowledge, you can move next to your house, get a plant or a tree, do it yourself, treat yourself. But today we are exposed to this so-called colonization in terms of medicine and the rest of the things. So we actually have plenty within the continent that is given unto us free by either the creature or nature. But we have not clearly understand how to tap on it in order to liberate ourselves, because every tool we need for our liberation is within us and is in us. So let me get forward to get more comments coming in, and I really ask you to raise your hand so that I can mention you as we move along. Welcome, King Adwene Safoa. Can you introduce yourself, where you're joining us from, and proceed to give us your comment. Then I'll move to Sister Mary, who is now back, or Mary X, please.
I'm really sorry about that. I was traveling and my connection just got cut off.
Okay, King Safoa, Kelly, let's start with Sister Mary because she was in and out. Sister Mary, can you proceed, then I go to King.
Oh, I will accept, my brother.
Thank you. Sister Mary?
Yes, sorry, I won't be long because I put all my chat in the if it actually got through I put all what I had to say in the chat. But basically, what I'm going to say is that we should be very careful not to reinvent the wheel in terms of this unity thing, okay? And it's a question of the will and the various agenda amongst the people. I mean, you have Cuba as an example, you have Grenada as an example, you had Nigeria as an example. You know, I just attended a conference where we had French, Dutch, and English African Caribbeans all moving towards the same agenda, which was decolonization. Yeah. You have the Africans in Britain as an example, where you know, you have Nigerians, Ghanaians, Jamaicans, St. Lucians, Barbadians, etc., right, who are working together on a common agenda, right? And I think you have to talk to the hearts and minds of people to get them even at the starting line, because, you know, what we're talking about is not impossible. I mean, our emperors in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and now Senegal are showing us how it's done. Yeah? So it's very possible. And in terms of regionalizing the curriculum, I did some research in St. Lucia's some time back, and what I found out was the children in St. Lucia had never left the country. They'd never been to Britain or France or America, most of them, but they'd actually performed at 14, because don't forget, in this country, we get our GCSEs or IGCSEs, yeah, at 16. At 14, they were acing it, and they were getting better results than their 16-year-old Black and white peers in this country. And alongside that, they had the CXC curriculum, which is the Caribbean Examinations Board curriculum, etc.
And it was just as valued as the international curriculum because the government threw its weight behind it. It's a question of will. It's a question of not seeking validation from anybody but ourselves. Okay, it's the question of speaking to the hearts and minds of people, because deep down inside, I think Africa knows that it has to unite, lest it perishes. I yield.
Thank you so much, sister. It's deep in the will. And deep down, you say Africans are willing to unite. They are loving to unite. I've seen this through the solidarity call we called, where DJ Mr. Pierce started a fundraising for me to actually join the UN. And I'm telling you, for the last 5 days, people came from all parts to do something for unity and solidarity in true actions. And I do appreciate that. The question is now, as you've said, we need now to move our solidarity into action. That we have, I've been doing the research also in behalf of our conscience in class on the wealthy Black families across the world, from the continent and outside the continent. I'm telling you, the resources the Africans people own, even in terms of so-called money or monetary, is so much enough to actually develop everything we need in Africa without depending on any loan anywhere. But above that, our numbers is the greatest tool we have. If Africans could lack $1 million per person, but $1 per person in over billions of people we have is enough to build everything we want. So it's just a matter of us identifying the forces that make for our unity, the forces that make for our unity. Then we can use to actually outweigh the forces that divide us. We have the potential. We have all it takes. As you say, it's a matter of tapping into us through the mindset conversation and conversion in order for us to attain what we want. But let me hear what King Safwa has to say. I encourage you, if you want to say something, please raise up your hand. We still have around 32 minutes that before we end our session. Please raise up your hand. I'll give you a chance to speak. King Safwa, can you introduce yourself, being the first time probably joining us, and proceed with your contribution?
Thank you very much, my brother, and also greetings to everyone. As you know, my name is Adrian Safwa, and I am a Ghanaian. They say Ghanaian, you have been divided by name, so I can say I'm an African. That's what I can say for now. My brothers and sisters, I have some points. I have some point that I want to share with us all. Now, I'm going to start from where your point that you make, my brother, talking about the action. You see, action has always been the first infinite key ever to solve problems. The word action. Let's say our mother has served us food, and instead of taking action to eat the food or to cook the food or to process the food, we rather stop processing the food and rather talking and complaining about here and there. Well, let's also remind ourselves that the food there was poor or will get waste because of complaining, because complaining gives us delay in life. Now, on my second point is that talent which we were born with, it can't work without our mother tongue. We need to have a common language, as one of our queens said now, because any nation which want to develop must work with one tongue, a tongue. We have to have one common language, because it's through the language that we can bring what is in us. Because if you have a talent and you cannot express yourself in a common language, a language that you can speak and understand, the talent which your mom give to you can never work. If what I'm saying is true. Now, when it comes to money, money has been our problem as an Africans, because what we have is more than money. What the land, what our mother earth produces for us is more than it's worth more than money, which is paper. It's worth more than gold and diamond. So why is it that we the Africans, we have all that it takes, all the wisdom that we need to develop, we have them, and we cannot get hold to it? Who is putting stop to it? Who is blocking our way? Who are those people? What do we need to tell them? What are we going to sit them down and talk to them, express ourselves to them about? You see, my brother, you said something about medication. Yes, our brothers and sisters living in the diaspora are suffering because of medication. Even the food that we eat, is medicine. It means we need to eat good food and take in good we the Africans, everything about us is medicine. Even our hair is first aid, is medicine. Even our saliva is medicine. You see, even our tears are medicine. Everything about we the Africans are medicine. So why is it that the truth are not being told and we are suffering in that kind of way? Ending my point, brothers and sisters, now we are all calling for unity. We must also see it clear. We must also see it clear to the highest level, because a monkey will never do a mistake by jumping from one tree to the other without seeing it clear. If you want to get hold of something, somebody has taken what belongs to you, and you want to take it from the person, you must have a good target, a target that you know that you will not fail. Because whatever belongs to you, you must take it with your left hand, not your right hand. So if you want, all of us, we want to come together to take over, it will not work, because majority cannot change things, but few can change things. One people can conquer 1,000 and over. So how much more? We say we have awake. So what are we waiting for us as an Africans? What are we doing in our every single seconds, minute, hour, days, months, and years? The moon is speaking to us. The moon always speaks to us as Africans. What are we doing? The sun got nothing for us. We have no what is in the sun. The moon is calling us. So what are we doing, my brothers and sisters? This is what I have with me now. And thank you very much to all of us.
Thank you very much, comrade. Indeed, that's the soul-searching question, because the change starts with me and you. What are you doing? Just the same way is a wrong comparison, but see how maybe the spread of so-called religion, either Christianity or Islam, was done. It started in their own story of Jesus having 12 disciples, and the disciples went out to fish for other men to be disciples. And over years and years today, some of us who are never with so-called Jesus or ever knew where that Jesus was are so-called and defending themselves as disciples. We are apostles and so-called bishops of cause and information or a religion that we never knew or even had or even had in touch with. That is the same as it starts, the same way Castro said, if he was to go for another revolution, he'll go with the few. So the few of us who are starting to wake up, are we doing the evangelism of Pan-Africanism to reach out, to tap to so many people? Because for prosperity, it has to move beyond us to the general masses so that it can be owned by the masses and the masses can push it forward, and forward we can win. That is what is missing, and that is what we as a people must do. So permit me to get to Sister Ida, then Sister Joe, or Sister Ida and then Comrade Joe Kobe. Sister Ida, please.
I am very, very surprised to hear a Ghanaian saying that you take with your left hand. Take with your left hand and not your right. It's always been the other way around that I know of, but that's not what I put my hand on. I really put my to say that I think until we start looking at the people at I hate to say the bottom, but the people who don't have, and start working towards their lifting them up, we're in trouble with whatever we do. For instance, I think all the people who are rushing away to leave the countries, all the Africa, and go on the boats or get stuck in Morocco, or are being killed up in the north of Africa. You know, it's really or being enslaved so bad. And until we start doing something about that, I mean, for instance, and also until we start writing down anything we need to do to change Africa and get it united, I think we're just almost whistling in the wind. We need to sort of start having putting down things that would make a constitution sort of thing, and working towards it. I mean, I was so saddened. I tell you, I was saddened when I heard Brother P say about, oh, color. What does color matter? You know, that really, I just thought, oh no, don't tell us things like that. We shouldn't be hearing things like that. So even if people are saying it, you know, we shouldn't be, oh no. It's anyway. I am
sorry
trying
to
to
interject.
say.
Sorry to interject, sister. I know we shouldn't be hearing that. I agree with you 100%. We shouldn't be talking about color. But the fact is, people do. And unless we can actually face what the
I know,
issues
but they're so
are and the
ignorant.
problems,
Does
we
it mean
can't
we
solve
have
them.
to repeat it? Nah. I don't. To be honest,
Okay, thank you.
I wonder about that, because you know, as soon as you throw that out, it's like throwing a grenade. It just, you know, it sort of spreads. It's not. Oh, anyway, I'm not going
Point
down
taken,
that
but
road.
it's the
I
elephant
just
in the
say,
room.
you know.
Thank you. As we progress,
Okay.
permit me to recognize. Yes, Sister Ida?
I was going to say that, you know, when we get wealth, like oil wealth and stuff, I think I insist on the head that we need getting a decent standard of living, and things like oil wealth, or even a lot of gold, if that's, or diamonds, if that's what your country has. Some of it should be going to people's standard of living, to raise those right at the bottom. And you know, there should be no two. It should be part of our. It should be part of our hearts that we're trying to raise people, not just see them suffer like we're seeing them suffer at the moment. So that's really, and I can't praise Sister Tapua enough, that she's actually gone out there, and you know, whatever it is that she has to give, she's out there trying to make a statement that, you know, it's her country and she needs. So I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Eda. Just to permit me to recognize the presence of Brother Kwame, whom I will allow to proceed with these proceedings as the chair moving forward. And two, I'd like to recognize that I think Comrade Marsha, she was having problem, but now she's unmuted, so you speak immediately after my contribution. But permit me to take it further a bit, that Nkrumah says that he is convinced that the forces making for our unity far outweigh those that divide us. But he goes ahead, as you see, he says that I am constantly impressed by how much we have in common. It's not just our colonial past or the fact that we have aims in common. It is something which goes far deeper. I can best describe it as a sense of oneness in that we are Africans. But let me proceed to allow Sister Marsha to kindly come in, then Brother Kwame, welcome. We have 20 minutes to go. You can get us moving forward. Sister Marsha is in, then Brother Joseph is following Sister Marsha. Sister Marsha?
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me better now.
Yes.
Perfect. These are just some kind of random thoughts that came to me while I was listening to the discussion. Feel free to stop me when my time has elapsed. So we're asking, how can we get back to Al-Kibu land? Because let us be clear that things like Africa, culture, race, and language are all Western. And what I think we are doing in this conversation is that we are actually trying to connect ourselves to our liberation in a very Western way. and using very Western thinking and approaches to what liberation is, looks like, and means. I just want to signal, there was a brother, I think it was a brother, who indicated that, you know, India has gone through the same thing that we have gone through. Why is it so hard for us to shake? And I think that we need to be historically accurate and clear, because that brings an understanding of how we move from where we are to where we want to go. There is no race of people in the world that has experienced what the people of Akibulan who have been dispersed throughout the world have experienced. India has not experienced that. Indigenous people have not experienced that. What we experienced was a movement from humanness to non-humanness. Other people were used as cheap labor, but it was clear that they were still people. When we left Akibulan and went through the Middle Passage, it was an experience that moved us from being African to being Black, from being human to being non-human. Those things are not peripheral in terms of how we move ourselves back to unity and Akibulanness, right? It is exactly that we are fighting. So in terms of what we're really asking is, how do we unfree ourselves? I am a little bit uncomfortable. I think uncomfortable is the right word to use in terms of how we are constructing the divide between Caribbean and Africa, right? Or Akibulan, as I say. Caribbean, I don't think it's accurate for us to say something, for example, like Akibulan has to free itself before the Caribbean can free itself. The Caribbean experience is a legitimate experience, has been a traumatic experience, and people have survived. How they have come out the other side may not be acceptable, but we have to accept that they came out the other side. Can they do more? Absolutely yes. But should we start from a point of setting up, again, this very hierarchical world of the people who have remained in Akibulan are probably more connected, better than, It's the Western way. We have to stop that. So let's talk now about how we can move forward beyond all of the Western mess. Religion is a problem. There are some of us who want liberation and the white God. I don't see how the two of those are compatible. We have to have a conversation about that. Patriarchy is also a problem. We are trying, and one of the things that, and I thank Joseph for inviting me to this meeting. I said it to him when he invited me, I will say it now. One of my biggest contentions with Pan-Africanism has been its very unholy relationship with women and the place of women within liberation. We have to fix that. Patriarchy and religion, to my mind, when we talk about uniting Africa, when we talk about the challenges of uniting Africa, those are the two bedrocks that have been used as shackles beyond any kind of physical bondage. We have to fix it. We're talking today about a very macro approach to unity. But unity has always happened at the level of Ubuntu, right? It has always happened at the micro level. It has always happened from before. We need to start to talk to each other. So that is what makes this group important. Where I live in Canada, there is a big African community, there's a big Caribbean community, and what that has been facilitating is a conversation and a discussion and a trust and a sharing food and a sharing experience. Cultures are not the same. They're not the same. And at the same time, they're the same. And it takes space for us to create the unity that we're talking about and thinking about, right? So those frank conversations, reading, study, the things that you are engaged in today are important. But we also have to ask the question, can oppressed people form liberation and unity? Because all of us right now Whether we are in Akibulan, whether we are in the diaspora, we are all oppressed people. So let us be clear and frank and honest about what it is that we're trying to do. We are trying to bridge Caribbean disunity. We're trying to bridge Caribbean African disunity. It is not simplistic work, right? And finally, politicians will not help us. Let us be clear. Politicians are not the answer. We have to find a way to fund ourselves. And in funding, we have to understand that if we're going to accept reparations on the basis of capitalist reparations, we could as well not. So these are some of the things that come to my mind. It is not impossible work, but it is a work of patience and empathy and relationality. That's what I think.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Kindly come in. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, brother Pigeon. Yeah, I was at an annual conference which finished today, and I am an educator, and we had our national delegates conference today. We finished today, started on Tuesday. Hence, I was joining you late. But Brother Pigeon, thank you for continuing to hold the fort for us. We hope when you go to Geneva, you can do the same. I won't. You can still join us from there. Yeah, a very spirited discussion, and the sister who just spoke, invited Brother Joseph, as she said, the sister said, "Sister, thank you very much. I think you have raised some of the issues that are the reasons why we are having this conversation. So let's be clear. This is a conversation we think we should be having. For a long time, the consensus study class had assumed that, yes, unity, the unification of the continent was there, but we did not really discuss it until something happened. And the sister has asked me not to mention her name because she feels embarrassed each time I mention it. So I'll skip over that. But anyway, so something arose, a conversation arose, and then we realized that actually, even though our study class was ultimately about the total liberation, unification, and the development of Africa, we were not having that discussion. And the liberation, unification, and development of Africa was not a conversation that was happening amongst Africans or people of African. Some don't like the word descent, so they said they didn't descend from anywhere. But anyway, but let's say the African people, wherever they are on the continent or on the planet. So this Saturday, so the Saturdays are the days we set aside for having that conversation. And some of the things I have heard since I haven't been here for very long, as I joined late because of what I was involved in earlier, as I said. But some of the conversations I've heard so far affirm why we should be having this conversation. And some of the issues that have been raised by the sister who just spoke, invited by Brother Joseph, the sister has raised vital issues which affirm or confirm why we should be having this discussion. So, sister from Canada, thank you very much for raising those issues. We shall continue to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Joe, we can hear you. Okay, is that Joe speaking? So.
Can you hear me?
Brother Pigeon, I believe that was brother. I'm just checking again who that brother is. I thought it was Brother Joe.
I can't see who that is. I hope it's not a hack.
Yes,
I'm looking. I can't see. No one's got their mic on.
It's Brother Joe. Brother Joe Koveyao. Yeah. Because his mic.
Oh, right. Okay.
His mic is off. His mic is back on now. Yes, Brother Joe, we did hear you. In case you are wondering. And Brother Joe, I did say that your compound name is a name that recalls my uncle, an uncle of my maternal uncle. I was asking if we were related. That was last week when you joined, but we didn't hear from you. But anyway, if you can contact me privately via the chat, that would be great. Yeah, so as I was saying, so we thank the sister for sharing what she shared. I believe it was Sister, I'm just trying to check the name. Sister, is it Sister Marsha? Is that correct? That just shared?
Yeah, Marsha.
Yeah, Sister Marsha, I think you've hit some of the points why we need to be having this conversation. And I think it's important for us to realize that today's conversation is not the only conversation. Every Saturday, we have set every Saturday aside to have this conversation around our unification, liberation, and our development. Because we cannot develop unless we are united. We have a united continental government, and we can't unite unless we liberate ourselves from the liberals and the conservatives. And the sister is right. The politicians today are not interested, in the sense that they are the Africans who only think of now, how they can have power, how can have access to resources, send their children to the West, send their wives abroad so they can have private health and so on. So they are not interested in the past so much, and they're also not interested in the future of Africa. It is the Pan-Africanists, us, the radical Pan-Africanists, who are interested in that. So thank you very much. I notice Brother Joseph's hand is up, as is Sister Marie's hand as well. But as you know, for me, it's always ladies first. So I'll ask Sister Marie to speak first, and then I'll go to Brother Joseph. But in the meantime, Brother Pigeon, thank you for always holding the fort for us. For those who don't know, I am Christian Kwame Agbodza, and I am the chair of Consensusism.
Brother Kwame?
Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Brother Joe wanted to speak initially, just that he was not able to speak. So I don't know. You came back going to speak.
It's fine. There's a lady's hand up, so it's ladies first. Sorry. But just how you don't mind. Sister Marie.
Hi, this lady's been brought up by men, so she won't be too long. All right.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. It's always
no,
ladies
I'm not. I'm making a statement. I'm a
Thank
daddy's
you.
girl.
Ah.
Right?
Thank you. Carry on.
Basically, very quickly, I have already said everything Africans need is within and without us. Okay. And I mentioned a string of countries who have, strived to be united in their quest and gone to help, siblings elsewhere. Look at what the Cubans do for us in the Caribbean and Africa. Yeah. Look at what the Nigerians did during apartheid. Look at what the Grenadians achieved. Yeah. But basically, more recently, Libya, right? I'm not going to go on because we can do our research. A perfect example of a country who used its oils, its resources, profits to help the people. Free education, free healthcare, right? If they couldn't get it in Libya, right, that would be paid for them elsewhere. Gaddafi was known to help community groups in England, irrespective of where we were born, right, etc. So it can be done. And Gaddafi was talking about the dinar, the currency, gold-backed currency, etc. And, we know what happened. We know why it did. Yeah. But we've got to stop making excuses and stop getting in our own way, because all I can hear on this call, right, are excuses, right?
Right. Okay.
This is, this is the time when we cannot afford the luxury of any sort of excuses. Look at our boys. Look at our boys. Senegal, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. Look at them. What excuses are they making? Right?
I see. I was not aware, Sister Marie, that excuses were being made for us.
No. That's how I talk. Glenroy will tell you. Right?
Okay.
And I've spoken like that to that group for 15 years. And I'm so heartened.
Which group is that?
GAC.
Okay.
And I'm so heartened to see, right, the progress that they have made, right? Okay. Joining up with groups like yourself, etc. I'm not into talk. I'm into action. So let's go, 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 go. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not aware that GSC are not for unification, that they make excuses.
No. You see, the thing is,
Yeah.
our hearts are in the right place, right?
Okay.
But when it comes to finding solution, we're always something in the way.
Okay.
Right? And what
Right.
I'm saying is, be done with that. This is the time, GAC is a great example of an organization, right? Who decided that, yes, we're done with the excuses.
Okay.
We're going forward, irrespective. Yeah?
Okay.
So
Excellent.
we need to stop making excuses. It's doing my head in.
Yeah, you will, Sister Marie, you will be pleased to know that in CSG, as a study group, we are dedicated to the unification of Africa. Therefore, when we are holding a class like we're doing today, and we'll do every Saturday, ancestors and God and Allah willing, we will not be about excuses. What we want, and the reason we initiated this Saturday discussions around unification and having a conversation. I mean, yes, we shall from time to time discuss or have discussions around issues that are related to unification, like we had with Haiti. We will discuss this and discuss that. But the Saturdays are primarily about the unification of Africa, and we are not about finding. We are not about highlighting the challenges why we can't unite.
Play the
principle,
tape back.
Yeah, I'm sure. I wasn't. Yeah, I hear you. I wasn't here when the discussions were had. But two things I would like to say, which is that one, we recognize, yes, that there will be challenges to unification, but that is not a reason not to have the conversations around unification. And there are, some would say, 1,001 reasons why we can't unite or shouldn't unite, and so on.
Or we're not uniting. I just said, we're uniting against, in the Caribbean. Someone has asked me how, right? As if I'm seeing things or I'm making things up, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, Sister Marie.
The thing is,
just
Sister
so
Sister Ryder made a very good suggestion, and I hope it's taken up in terms of our formulating an action plan.
Which sister did that?
How we are going to get unification.
Which sister is that? Is that Sister Marsha, the one that? Sister Ida. Yeah, Sister Ida doesn't like me to mention, but she's the one that have initiated these Saturday meetings because Sister Ida.
And if I don't like you mentioning it, Brother Kwame.
Sorry, Sister Ida. I ask for your forgiveness as always. But anyway, no, so we initiated these discussions precisely to discuss these things and to begin to have a conversation amongst Africans towards African unity. The other point, which I think you are making, Sister Marie, is that once we've initiated and have these discussions, there will be brothers and sisters who would express skepticism towards unification. I think that it is important that in a democratic discussion, unless we are going to have the unification through war, which some people believe will happen, that the forces against unification at some point will have to confront the forces against unification. Because let's be clear, there are forces on the African continent and outside the African continent that are not interested in our unification. I mean, India is a very good example. India, the continent India, and the nation India was not a united country. It was the imperialists that united India. You understand? through the what you call the Accession Act, where the head of government at the time went round the kings of India and got them to sign their lands away, called the Act of Accession. And that is how India was formed. But because of the Muslim, the Hindu-Muslim problem, they carved out Pakistan as a separate state for the Muslims. But the India that we know today was not a united nation. You understand? Now, what they did in India is the direct opposite of what they did in Africa, where even where there were families, or nations united, they put a line through them and separated them. One part was in what today Ghana, another part is in Togo, one part is in Ivory Coast, the other part is in Ghana, one part is in Burkina Faso, another part is in Ghana, and caused confusion. This division was brought about, as you know, because the imperialists, and they were fighting amongst themselves, the French and the Spanish, the Portuguese and the English, for the Germans and the French. They were themselves fighting for space on the continent. And as we know, it is that fight over Africa that led first to the First World War, and when it was not decisively determined, went on to the Second World War. And the Second World War was a continuation of the First World War over the territories of Africa. So what I'm saying is that there are forces against the unification of Africa, and there are those who believe that at some point there will be a war amongst Africans for those who want unification and those who don't want. And that war, just like the Americans had to have their Civil War, the Italians had to have their war to unification, that we will have that war. It will be inevitable. We are not saying that we want war. That's not what we are saying. But some argue that there will be war ultimately for the unification of Africa. So I suppose I am saying that we should expect people to come here and express their view that it's impossible. Because there are those who believe that Africa will never unite, or it can never unite. And they say, look at Nigeria, small country. Well, it's big, but small in the sense of the continent. Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is a huge country, but small in terms of Africa. And they can't unite. The Igbos can't unite with the Hausas. The Hausas can, Yoruba, but the Yorubas and Hausas work together, but not with the Igbos. How do you think we can't even unite in the nation? How are you going to unite?
We haven't willed it. You see, we're still going back. We haven't willed it.
That's the point I'm making, that there are those who will have that argument. But it is for us here in CSG.
And there are those who will agree with us.
Yes, precisely. So it's for us when we are those championing. In fact, that's our intention. Our intention is to champion the conversation for unification. So when they come to us, we must have the tools to disarm them, to convince them, to encourage them. And so, because we want a democratic debate around unification. So the time is 9:04. We don't go over our time. And I joined late, so I'll pass it back to Brother Pigeon to close the meeting and to remind others of our Thursday meeting. Thank you. Oh, Brother
Thank
Joseph, Brother Pigeon will let you speak. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Brother Joseph. It's already past time, but maybe a minute to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because I wanted to, first of all, endorse what Sister Dr. Macha said, because as I said earlier on, that she could even say it much more dynamic than me. And I think we should consider some of the points she made. For instance, which she added to what I said, was included, we must discount or discard capitalism. When I hear people speaking here, look, sometimes we speak as if capitalism, all we need to is to take over the means of production or take over the ownership. But it would not bring salvation to us. We have to think radically, how can we reimagine how to live outside of these systems? So I think at least we should, unfortunately, we didn't follow up on discussing what she said, which I think is very, very pointed and very strong. I'll stop here now.
Thank you very much, comrades, who have joined us today. Indeed, we cannot act if we cannot talk. We must come to a platform where we must talk and discuss how we have to act in unity. It's not common that everybody knows what we must do. No, we must actually come and have a conversation and have a way forward. We have had this conversation for a platform for us to talk the way forward. And we will be doing this further. We are looking for Pan-Africans who are willing and volunteering to give their expertise, their skills, their resources, and whatever they can give in solidarity towards working for the African agenda. And we have not beyond the talks alone. The class does a lot in terms of the research to find the potentials of our unity, the positive forces that can work for us, and we even come with ideas on how we can push forward solidarity towards this implementation. So we are beyond the talk, and we're looking forward to people who are willing to sacrifice or volunteer the little they can give, expertise, network, their knowledge, their time, their money. So thank you very much, comrades, and we will still build this family together. But as I've said again, we must talk in order to agree on how to act. And Thursday's classes are our philosophical educational class, and we invite you every day. We are now starting chapter 2, which is studying philosophy in relation to society, philosophy and society. We are done with chapter 1, philosophy in retrospect. We understand the origin of the universe, the cosmic raw materials, what the universe is made up of. Now we are moving to the relationship of our society and philosophy, and we intend to move forward to learn. And out of what you learn, we help us act and bring forward these Saturday classes, which is purely discussing implementation. That's why we always say what must be done, not what was done, what must be done in order to implement the vision. So thank you very much, comrades, for your time. I will not forget to appreciate you for the solidarity you've shown to me in terms of your support towards my anticipated journey to attending United Nations Summit. If you haven't maybe put something and just say willing, we'll get you the notification. Feel free to give something. But thank you very much. That is the solidarity in action. I do humbly appreciate. Without much ado, I'll have to end our class today. And let's meet on Thursday, same time. Feel free to chat me or contact me via the chat so that we can join our Thursday classes if you're not part of it, and Saturday classes. Thank you very much, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, no, that is it. Just to let Brother Joseph know, the points that Sister Dr. Martha, as he said, has made, we should pick those up next week. It's a continuing conversation. It should never stop. Even when we are united, we should still be talking about it, how to keep it, because when you get it, it doesn't mean you have it forever. You still have to be talking about it. So hopefully this is a continuing conversation in which we'll continue to have. So on behalf of CSG, thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Good night. Bye.